After months of pushing off calls from many of her fellow Democrats for a formal impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi now says the time has come.
The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry.
The tipping point, of course, were those reports that Trump pressured Ukraine's president to investigate the son of former VP turned candidate for President Joe Biden. Trump has also admitted that he delayed aid to Ukraine, although he says the two were unrelated. He agreed today to release the transcript of that July phone call with the Ukrainian president. But is this really the smoking gun an increasing number of Democrats, including the Speaker, seem to think? Or will it be Mueller report the sequel? Joining me are Lylah Alphonse, managing editor for U.S. News and World Report. Good to see you again. And Sydney Asbury, former campaign manager and deputy chief of staff for Deval Patrick, now principal DNM Solutions. By the way, we also reach out to our regular Trump-friendly panelists and the chair of the Massachusetts GOP. They all declined our invitation. Sydney, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
UT. So starting with you, what flipped Pelosi? I mean, I mentioned Trump's own actions, but was it the sheer number of Democrats, the 7 Democrats in the swing districts in the Washington Post, or was it this icon speech from the floor of the House today? Here it is.
We cannot delay. We must not wait. Now is the time to act. I have been patient while we tried every other path and used every other tool. The future of our democracy is at stake.
As John King from CNN said on our radio show today, all Democrats are not created equal. John Lewis is on a different plane. Was that it? What was the thing that caused Pelosi to flip?
I think there was a combination of things. I think there was that iconic speech. I think it's the additional support. I think it's the fact that you can look at the phone call itself, but you can also look at the whistleblower complaint that should have by law gone to Congress and didn't. I think it's worth noting that what she's agreed to is an inquiry. You don't have to then go to impeachment from an inquiry. You can have an inquiry without going through the whole process of impeachment. So it kind of gives her some breathing room. It gives her the chance to look like they're acting, and then they can still decide what they're going to do or not do later.
Yeah, you were, from what I understand, with Pelosi in her hesitancy before today. Did she make the right move today?
I think we reached a tipping point, and I think 2/3 of her caucus, Democratic caucus, were in support of impeachment, and I think the numbers told her that she had to move forward. I will just say that I don't think you can move forward without going all the way. For the Democrats, I think this is all in at this point, and I think Nancy Pelosi knew that, and that's why this decision was so big for her.
Is a quid pro quo necessary? I mean, a lot of the Democrats have said, listen, what Trump and Giuliani have admitted to in terms of their contacts is enough. Some Republicans, those who have not been hiding out, particularly in the United States Senate, have questioned whether or not there was a quid pro quo. The president admitted that he held back this $391 million in foreign aid, but he said, I think it was today, the reason I held it back was because I wanted other European nations to contribute. If it can't be proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, or whatever the standard is, that there was a quid pro quo, are the Democrats on shaky ground or no?
Listen, I think probably the Mueller report was enough to move forward personally, but I think the challenge Democrats have and what they have to do well is prove to the American people, the vast majority of which do not support moving forward with impeachment proceedings, that yes, in fact, there is cause.
Is there any evidence to suggest the Democrats have that ability? I thought the Corey Lewandowski thing was one of the greatest embarrassments to democracy on both sides of the room. The Democrats' ineptitude and Corey Lewandowski's grotesque, contemptuous disrespect for the constitutional process.
I'm not sure that they can convince the American people. I think part of the problem is a lot of people they don't understand that you can impeach a president without removing them from office. They tend to think impeachment means fired, get them out of there. They don't really understand that it's censure. It's not removal. So I think there are a lot of people who are interested in removing the president from office but don't understand that it's a long process and that this is one step along it. I agree with you. I don't think she would have done this if she didn't think she could take it all the way. I'm not sure that there's enough appetite to wait through the months and months and months it will take to go all the way.
Is it possible that she didn't lead the Democrats into this? One of you said the Democratic members led her into this, which is sort of the antithesis of what a strong leader does, and she has been seen as one of the strongest leaders that the House has seen forever. Is that going to damage this effort?
Listen, she's leading from behind in this situation, and I don't think that is where she wanted to be. I think you see people like Richie Neal in Massachusetts holding out in terms of supporting. I think many people were concerned that this process is going to be an uphill battle for Democrats. But now that we're there, we have to go all in, and we have to make the case to the American people. And honestly, I think most Democrats, and Nancy Pelosi is the leader of the Democratic Party, want impeachment. They want this president out. They want it over. And so that is the high bar that she knew she was tipping off today with this announcement.
I'm getting a lot of email this afternoon in anticipation of Pelosi's announcement, which had obviously been leaked to the press, so the press knew it was happening, saying the Democrats overplaying their hand again, a la Mueller. As I said before, if Trump follows through in his commitment to release the contents of the phone call, is it possible it's going to be another one of those, is that all there is, kinds of things? I mean, he's admitted up front what he said, and let's assume it's just a typical odd kind of Trump thing. Is it possible they may have some egg on their face if he does release the transcript of this call?
Well, the Attorney General's office did decide that the whistleblower was credible and that the whistleblower's complaints were credible, and that's complaints plural. We don't know what else is in that complaint. And it could be that the phone call doesn't have enough smoke to really indicate that there's a fire, but it could be that there's something else in the complaint that does. I think there's probably
there's no guarantee yet that they're getting to see it.
No,
do we know?
No,
I mean, even though they're legally required to turn it over, turning over the transcript and turning over the complaint are two totally different animals.
But refusing to turn over the complaint at this point is a violation of the law. It's a clear one. That can be another tack that they use.
You've run campaigns, we mentioned Deval Patrick's, for higher office executives. What does this do to the Democratic race? Does this make it a one-issue kind of thing? We're debating Medicare for all, taxes going up on the wealthiest 0.1%. Is it all impeachment all the time starting tomorrow?
Unfortunately, yes. And I think this is one of the reasons Nancy Pelosi was hesitant to move forward, is we have a presidential race where we have Democratic candidates who are trying to get airtime, and right now that is not happening. Joe Biden is going to be the only presidential candidate in this race who's going to get any airtime, and honestly, Joe Biden's leaning into this because he has to, but I think in the long run this is not good for Joe Biden.
Why do you think it's not good for Biden? Because of the oxygen issue or something else?
And the substantive constant discussion about corruption relating to his actions.
It's interesting you say that, is that Bob Kuttner, who's going to be with us tomorrow, was telling us on the radio today about a piece he's written that is not yet run, not unlike what you're saying. He said what you're going to hear in the presidential campaign is who is the presidential candidate whose son was getting $50,000 a month, which he was, from a board of a company in another country. Do you buy this notion that this may be more dangerous, at least as dangerous for Biden as it may be for Trump?
I think it could be because it paints Biden with a brush that was just recently used to paint Trump. Every time there's a complaint about Trump's children or the family involvement or corruption there, now they can point to Biden and say, hey, but what about this?
You know, this is probably an insider's question. I try not to ask those kind of questions, but I'm interested. I'm assuming that Nancy Pelosi is ready to strangle Jerry Nadler, who's House Chair of the Judiciary Committee, because he basically defied her wishes and called it an impeachment inquiry a week or two before she said it was okay to do that. The thing that's up in the air, at least as of airtime today, is does it go through the Judiciary Committee? Is it a special committee? I would bet my house on a special committee so she can pick somebody other than Nadler to run this. Who is that person? Who is the person who can market themselves as well as the issue? Talk about educating the public to the American people. Who is that man or woman?
That's a great question. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It's somebody in her leadership team, obviously, that she trusts. I hope, for Massachusetts' sake, someone like Catherine Clark, who's just a phenomenal leader.
Who's very close to her and one of the highest ranking, fifth highest ranking
but
person
we'll
in the
see.
House.
We'll see.
I really don't know. I don't know if what she's going to need is someone who can market it to the American public, or if what she needs is someone who can get even more Democrats on board to go through with it.
Well, they're going to be the face of the impeachment story, and if educating the public and bringing them along is part of the issue. Before you go, a number of phone calls to our radio show today said, and these were not Trump supporters, saying this is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. He wanted to be impeached. You're both nodding in agreement. Did he really want this? And this on his legacy, even if he's not convicted by the Senate?
He always likes the fight. So I don't know that impeachment was what he wanted, but he likes having this as a fight. And claiming this is an overstep on behalf of Democrats to enliven his base.
And it could end up helping him come next November, as Pelosi feared.
I think it will definitely energize his base. I think he needs more than his base to get reelected. So the real question to me is, how does this affect the swing voters, the independents, the Republicans who are in the middle, who are kind of sick of all the outrage, but not yet sick enough of the party to leave it?
And you fear for Democratic candidates that they're not going to have the airtime to be able to make their case of why they're a better choice.
Let the debate begin. Sydney, it's nice to see you.
Me too.
Lylah, thanks so much for your time.
Nice to see you.